Hello, today we're going to be talking about Node War and giving my impressions, giving my kind of like just little review here. I was going to write out a script for this, but I thought I would save that for like my guide on how to Node War and just kind of explaining the whole process and how everything goes. But for now, I think it's best if I just kind of talk about the state of it, how it works a little bit, my experiences, and just should you get into it, is it fun, the whole, the whole review process. If you guys need any reference points to my experiences, I've documented all the highlights and everything. You can go through my channel and just look at my Node War experiences. I'm usually top 5 fraggers, and sometimes, not even sometimes, quite a bit, I'm usually #1 frag in my guild. So normally I've got pretty decent experience. I think about 30 plus Node Wars now. So it's not exactly high up there, especially considering I only started back, I think 3 months ago, 4 months ago, something like that maybe. I can't remember whenever I joined Purge, but the point being is it's been a while now. Anyway, let's just get down to it. How are Node Wars? Are they fun? Well, depends on how you look at it, because there are ways that you can make it fun. There are ways that you can sort of just make it really just not fun. There are plenty of scenarios where Node Wars will be a complete dumpster fire or a complete like just slaughter of fun. It is so crazy whenever you get that really good fight, and that's the one that keeps you coming back for more, is when you get that good fight. What you're watching in the background, this was Phantom Troop, which are my guild, and then we were against Magoria Pirates. Fantastic fight. There was so much going on. They kept pushing us. We had like no choice but to turtle a little bit. Not even a little bit. We had to turtle a lot, which, say what you will about turtling, but when you got a larger ball and more geared members, what do you want us to do? Just jump in the middle of everything? But the point being is that we stalemated, and it was just a great fight all around. Everybody got kills. I got top 3 frag. I got 66 kills. A couple other people. My buddy Hammy, he got 80 kills. Neko got 77 kills or 70 kills. I can't remember what exactly it was, but it was Frag City. It was just Frag City, and it was fun. It was probably the best experience of a Node War I've ever had. But then we have Node Wars like this, where there is one guy. I'm not fucking with you. This happens. This dude from Griefcase, I made like a whole meme thing because he's just genuinely bad and just foreheaded into my grab, but like the point being is that this was a Node War. Like we had max participation. 25 people were on this node, and we only got to fight one singular dude, and we just dumpstered him into the floor and just took the base in 5 minutes. Not fun at all, and definitely really annoying, because people may have had schedules and stuff and be like, okay, yeah, I got Node War, so I'll put this off until later, and then they put off family, or they put off an errand or something that they needed to get done, and then we have one fucking guy on the node. That is the biggest waste of time. Somebody canceled plans or whatever just to show up to this absolute waste of time. So I mean, yeah, it depends on the situation. Sometimes you're gonna stomp the fucking ground and just destroy everybody, and the Node War is gonna be over in 5 minutes, especially if you're in a top guild like Sacred, Nameless, Flow. The point being is that you can be in a top guild that will just dumpster the fuck. Like, I'll use Sacrament as an example, actually, because we lose the Sacrament. There's nothing we can do about it. They just have bigger numbers, better geared people. I can fight them, but the point being is my guild cannot. They cannot do that shit. We have too many lowbies. We have people still, getting gear and fixing up, and also learning the classes that they're playing and trying to, train and whatnot. So for now, Sacrament, like, we hold the L against them, but we just have to hold that L at all given times. Even when we get into GVG with them, we just got to hold the L, because they can zerg 30 people in a matter of seconds. However, if we get a fair, decent fight against someone about our level, which I would say Seppuku, whenever they don't hire Sacred Mercs, well, they're about our level. I'd say we're better naturally without any mercs. I mean, we have a rule. We don't do mercs anyway. But the point being is that Seppuku and Phantom Troop, about the same level. I'll give it some leeway there, but I will say it's about the same. So in a fight like that, those are the fun fights, because it's not over in seconds. It's not over in an instant or whatever. So you actually will get to frag out and have some fun, and people get to experience large scale for the first time, because not a lot of people go to GVGs. Not a lot of people will hop out to go do whatever. They just kind of do their own thing. Maybe they grind, they life skill, but they don't PvP. I definitely have a couple people in my guild that don't show up to GVGs or don't really do anything. And then when they show up to Node War, they get to, frag out for a little bit and have fun. But those are the fights that you're really looking for, is a fair fight. And this is where the problem comes into play, because the node system is very jank. It is very much jank. You have these problems where they took away some of the nodes. So like in certain areas, like let's take Calpheon for example, some of the nodes are completely unavailable, so you can't even drop there. Serendia is the same, Balanos is the same. So with the lack of nodes, you're gonna run into guilds that you don't want to fight. And it's not even so much that you don't want to fight them, it's that you physically can't. As I stated before, the Sacrament situation, we get dumpstered by them because we physically cannot compete with their numbers, nor can we compete with the gear score at the moment. That may change in the future, but as of right now, we hold the L and we just have to keep holding that L. So whenever we get notified that they're dropping on our nodes, we'll rip the stick and we won't put the fort down because we physically can't fight them, and we don't want to waste everyone's time with a 5-minute node war. And keep in mind, node wars are demanding. They are very demanding. You literally show up at a certain time, which is usually 6 o'clock for Pacific Standard Time, or I think it's like 9 o'clock for Eastern and 8 o'clock for Central or something like that. But you get the point. So you show up at a specific time, and these node wars, if it's a good one and you know you're going back and forth, this shit can last for 2 hours. So you're asking a player of your guild to sit there and struggle with you for 2 hours. So you have to respect your player's time. So imagine being a GM in this situation, right? And then you have to look your members in the fucking eyes and tell them, hey, we're dropping here, we're fighting this guild, and we're gonna get dumpstered in 5 minutes. Please cancel your plans and so you can show up. It's like, you can't ask your guild to do that, especially knowing the circumstances. So like at the end of the day, you have to look at it from the perspective of, are you going to respect your players' times? And unfortunately, most of the time, you don't even know who's dropping on the node. So sometimes you may get these fights where it is going to be a dumpster and it's completely unavoidable, and that's just a risk you're going to have to take. But like I mentioned earlier, the node system is a problem because they took away a bunch of nodes, and we need those back so that way little guilds can kind of get their foot in the door, because at the moment it's a complete dumpster fest. You got people like Sacred, or you got people like, you know, Electric or whoever, which Electric is actually really cool because they try and help guilds get out there. They'll pass their territory because like they're strong enough and they hold the Serendia territory technically at all times. And most top guilds will have, you know, Balanos, Serendia, and the top guilds within those areas will hold that. But Electric passes it around and allows, you know, smaller guilds to get their foot in, so that way they can, you know, siege and stuff and learn how it works and learn how to push, get better as a group, and so on and so on. So Electric actually is a very good guild that tries to help little guilds, you know, get their foot in the door, which is nice. Should it be this way? Fuck no, it really shouldn't, because this is a problem due to territory passing and stuff like that, and it shouldn't be that way. If you're gonna fight for a node, fight for the node and not pass it around. And the reason passing around even gets tossed as an idea is because nobody wants to hold castle forever, because then you cannot node war. As of current state of the game, if you hold a castle, whether it be Balanos, Serendia, or Calpheon, or whatever the fuck, you get the point. You can't node war. So all you guys that are bloodthirsty and want to fight, they just have to sit on their hands. Which this can lead to civil unrest because they want to fight, so they may go start problems with people and, you know, be toxic or whatever. So believe it or not, this is literally a thing. Like you should definitely consider this, because I've got some bloodthirsty motherfuckers in my guild, and if they're not fighting, they're gonna go out and cause problems, and that's fine because we don't really care personally, because we want all the smoke on a regular basis. However, the issue being is that we don't like holding castle, because then we can't node war and then we're bored for a week. We held castle for 2 weeks at one point, and that was the most boring shit ever. Like I hated it. Soon enough, those changes are going to come through and you can hold castle and node war, and that's going to be fun, which is going to change up how we do things, because currently right now, like I said, certain guilds hold territories. Like normally Sacred holds Calpheon, Electric holds Serendia, and Balanos, I don't know who the fuck messes with that shit, but that's above my pay grade. But that's just Siege. So honestly, Siege is kind of dead. It just gets passed around. It's a complete like fuck fest of nonsense, and most of the time the guilds will just come together in Discord and then decide who's gonna go for castle, and then it'll be a free-for-all, and then that's kind of how it gets done. It's normally organized chaos. It's never just, you know, all right, we're dropping, we don't know who's gonna drop. Usually you know who's going for it. Now, is this viable for little guilds? In my personal opinion, yes and no. It depends on your knowledge of the game, and it also depends on if you're willing to, you know, get into the leadership Discord and put your foot in there and try and, you know, make a name for your guild and yourself, so that way you can, you know, get some stuff done. If you don't want to do this and you prefer to just not be in leadership Discord and, you know, follow protocol or whatever, then this can be a bit annoying, just because you're going to get steamrolled by certain guilds that are in quote unquote alliances or in, you know, cahoots with each other. Because I've definitely been in NodeWars where I've been 1v2'd or we've 2v1. There's been a couple NodeWars that were not really necessarily fun, but because they were just random and we had a 1v1 and there was just random people on the node, they got dumpstered because they were interrupting something that was organized. So there is a shadow syndicate Moses type situation going on where most people are talking in the leadership Discord and organizing node wars or organizing siege wars and stuff like that. So for a little guild, you kind of have to either conform or get farmed. That's kind of how it goes. If you randomly appear on a node, believe it or not, you are going to be the target first, because if the other guild knows who you are, like say a random guild drops on Phantom Troops node, which is my guild, and let's say Magoria Pirates, right? If you're a random guild against us two, guess what? We're going to dumpster you because you're in the way. That won't always happen, and that won't always be the case, because there has been other node wars where we were the target first because maybe we were in the way and we didn't know. So we've had node wars where we've been completely targeted first and the other people just didn't give a shit, and they sat in their fort and just turtled the whole time and didn't give a fuck. So there are definite ways to go about node wars that are rather annoying. You'll get the turtlers, you'll get the people that'll just rush you down immediately, you'll get the people that'll overwhelm you immediately. There's just so many different options that are going to happen during these node wars, and for a little guild, this is going to be very intimidating. Not to mention, there's not a whole lot of node war guides out there. There's a few and stuff like that that kind of go over the process, buffs and stuff like that, but you need to learn how to build, you need to have a shot caller, you need to know how to work defense, you need to know how to work siege equipment, stuff like that. These are all learning curves that if you're going to get into node wars and siege, you're going to have to understand how these things work. Which it's great if you want to learn and you have people that are willing to sit through a couple L's, and by a couple it's going to be a lot of L's until you finally get the hang of it. But if you have that support, you're going to be able to turn your guild into something better than what it is. There's obviously a lot more to this, like, you know, you have galleys, siege elephants, stuff like this that will require you to spend guild funds, and that's a whole different ball game of an explanation that I personally cannot talk about, because I'm not a GM. I don't really do guild missions. I'm an officer, but all I do is pop guild missions and go to node wars. So it is what it is. I can't really explain how that works, but siege elephants are definitely necessary for node wars. So in conclusion here, are node wars worth it and fun? Absolutely. I agree. They are 100% fun. They are 100% worth it. Highly recommend finding a decent node war guild or starting your own and, you know, getting into the scene. That is completely fine. But you're going to have to make some sacrifices and understand that there are just rules in place at the moment that require you to conform. As for siege, this is just not a good state right now. It's really just not. It's really just not. It's ran by the top guilds, and you really can't compete with them unless you have the numbers and gear score, and you need at least like over 20 or 25 600 gear score pluses, like 630s. These are the people that run the siege scene, and there's just, without you matching the numbers, the gear score, you are not going to take castle by force. And especially given the situation at the moment where there's many alliances, there are people that will 2v1 you or multiple just jump you. You cannot take castle at the moment by yourself. This is the part where I say it's a bit shitty, because there are rules in place and you have to conform, and siege is the one that applies to the most. Anyway, so yeah, node wars, super fun. Definitely recommend node wars at the very least. Siege, not so much. I could give a fuck less about siege. Not gonna lie, even after the changes and whatnot come to siege, I'm not sure that I would care either, unless like the changes are super worth or something like that. But either which way, you get it now. But I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.
Yeah, she knows, I don't need no